What's up guys, it's Rogaway here and I'm back with another tutorial, and today we are looking at some basic 3D modeling using Google Sketchup. Alright, and I'm trying to keep it simple, especially for those who haven't used 3D before, and Sketchup is a great program for that. It's very basic, and so let's get started. We're going to go first off either on your dock or in the search icon here. I'm going to look for Sketchup, and we're going to let that load up. Here we go. And you're probably going to get this when it comes up. Just say I agree and continue. Sketchup is a free program. We're using the Pro trial though. And so the Pro version costs money, but there is also Sketchup free as well. You can see try Sketchup free. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Template. And we're going to start with a simple template, and in this case we're going to work with meters. So I'm going to click meters because we are in Canada, and we're going to start using SketchUp. And here we go. Now you'll notice that we've got a model on our screen. I'm going to just say remind me later. I'm going to close the instructor because I am going to be the instructor for this. You'll notice that we start with a model on a plane. This is called a plane, the green area. And you can see that we have three axes here. We've got our x-axis, our y-axis, and our z-axis. Okay, red, green, blue. Okay, these are the 3D axes that we're going to work in. And I remember the first thing I wanted to do when I jumped into here is how the heck do I rotate? How do I look around the scene? And I'm going to show you. We use the little orbit up here. Let's start with that. If I click that, I can kind of look around the scene a little bit, rotate my view, and you can see that this person is just a cutout. They're flat. Alright? But what we want to do is we want to actually customize our layout a little bit. We don't want it to be the default layout. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to View, and we're going to go to Tool Palettes, and we're going to turn on Large Tool Set. That's going to give us all these tools off to the side. And we're not going to go through all of these, but we'll go through a few that we can use to make something cool. We're also going to go to View, Customize Toolbar, and this is going to look like a scary window, but we get this that comes up. And this view, even though it looks really daunting, is pretty simple. All it's asking us is what tools would we like to add to the top toolbar. We can even take tools off as well. The one that we want to add is standard views. So we're going to drag that up and attach it to the top toolbar. That's all we want. We're going to hit done. Now these standard views allow us to jump around our 3D model. So right now we are in isometric or ISO view. We can go to the top view. So that's looking down on our model. We can go to the front view and both left and right sides and the back. So we're going to stick to ISO for right now, just to keep it there. Now, if you have a scrolly wheel, you can scroll in and out to zoom in and out. And the shortcut for orbit is O. So if we want to rotate and kind of look around our scene a bit, we can. Now, let's look at creating simple objects. Alright, we're going to switch to the top view. Now the reason we work in top view when we're making objects, or the front view, whatever, is because you don't want to try to draw an object in isometric view. It's really painful because we have, well, let me just show you. First of all, if we want to move around our scene, if we want to actually pan around our scene, we use the hand. Shortcut is H for hand, and that allows us to move our scene. This is handy. Really bad pun there. And what we're going to do now is, let's say we want to create a shape on the plane here. Well, I can do it a number of ways. If I go with a line tool and I just draw a shape, you can see that it does lock into the axes when I do that. And I can create a shape. You'll see how it locks in. I'll look for the red. and I can't seem to find it for some reason. To me, this looks right. This looks good. Okay, and when I connect it, it makes what's called a face. Okay, that skin that just filled in there, that's called a face. But let's go to top view and look at what I actually created. I didn't create a rectangle. All right, I created a strange shape, a shape that's not correct. It's just that it looked correct when I was in that isometric view. This is why you don't want to work in this view, because it's deceiving. So we're going to go to the top. I'm going to triple click. Okay, I'll just show what the difference is. If I click once, I select the face. If I double click, I select the face and the line around it. If I triple click, I select the entire object. And then I'm going to hit delete. I'm going to get rid of it. We're going to switch back to ISO view. We're going to go orbit a little bit here. I'm going to use the hand with H. Just going to kind of move this over. We're going to look at creating objects, okay? Because obviously in 3D we want to be able to make objects. We want to be able to make things that look like objects that we recognize. And like I said, the best way to do this is to work in either the top or front view. We'll work in the top view. And you can see my cutout person. I'm going to use the hand. I'm just going to move the green, the X and Y axis over, so that's kind of off to the bottom left side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rectangle tool. I'm not going to use the line tool. I'm not going to create a shape. I'm going to take the rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. Now you'll notice down here in this corner we have dimensions. So if we want to create something exactly the right size as it would be in real life, we can look at those dimensions and make sure that it's going to come out at the right size. Now we can switch to the ISO view and we can see that we have this object here. And right now, if I go into orbit, we can see that this is called a plane object. It's a rectangle and it's sitting flat on the ground. It's like a piece of paper basically. But let's say we want to make it a three-dimensional object. What we can do is triple click or double click the object and we can extrude it. Okay, in 3D, extruding something means to pull it up, to give it depth, all right, based on these points. And the way we do that is with this tool right here. It's called the push and pull tool in SketchUp. We click that, and we can just pull this object up. And now you can see what was just a rectangle a second ago has now become a cube. All right, it took that face and pulled it up and added dimension to the sides. All right, so that's awesome. We have created a 3D object. Now, one thing I like about SketchUp is that it is very fast. We're also going to give it a little bit of more realism. We'll go to View and we'll turn on Shadows, so we can see now a little more depth that this object has. Okay, you can see that everything's casting a shadow, which is kind of cool. But let's say we wanted to build a house. Right now we have a cube that is technically solid. All right, actually, sorry, that's a lie. Technically hollow. So if I select a face and I delete it, you'll see that inside of this cube right now, it's paper thin walls and it is hollow. So I'm going to undo that. Let's say we want to add an actual wall. Let's say we're building a house. What we could do is we could select one of the faces and we can use something like the offset tool. All right, now the offset tool is really, really handy, because what we can do is we can create a shape within a shape using the face that we have selected. So you can see that I can create a second face inside of that face that we had before. And why is this important? Well, what I just did is created a smaller object that I can now, I'll just use rotate, kind of get a little bit more to the top. Now I can take this face and use push and pull and sink it down or up if I wanted to, down until we see it go and kind of snap into the bottom right there. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us then to cut that piece out. So now our cube has actually become 4 walls, which is kind of cool. Now let's say we wanted to create a custom shape. Or let's say we wanted to even shrink or enlarge this house. Let's look at that first. Let's go to the selection tool, triple click our object so it all becomes selected. This is our scale tool. And our scale tool will allow us to scale in any dimension, X, Y, or Z. Or we can hold shift and scale it proportionally. It allows us to change the size of our objects. This is handy when we're trying to position something or we want something to be just the right size. Now let's say we wanted to put a door on this wall that we just created. Let's switch to the front view now so that we can see the front of our house that we're starting to build. Now one thing I really like about Sketchup is that we can take objects like the rectangle tool and draw directly onto the face of an existing object. So I am drawing right now directly onto this object. And you'll see that if I switch to orbit that I just drew right on there. Now what we can do is we can select that face, push and pull, and we can sink it in there. By the way, I wanted to show that again. Push and pull. Notice the face turns, it has some weird sort of jaggy lines on it right here. That means that it's going to knock out of there. If I go the other way, obviously it's going to extend out of there. But if I go this way and I see that, it means it's going to knock that piece out. If I keep going, then it's going to extend into the model, which is not what we want. So there we go. Look how simple that was. Now we've taken a piece out of our wall and we have something that's starting to look like a house. All right? Say we wanted to add a window. Once again, go to front view. Draw a rectangle maybe right there. We're going to go to ISO view, click that face, push and pull, and we're going to sink it in. Ooh, now you see what happened there? Sometimes you push it too far. That is a problem. You want to make sure you undo that if it happens right away and do it again, because that will cause major issues. Now for some reason on this object, it could be that I'm too close to that wall. I'm going to just undo, Command Z by the way. I'm going to do that again, go to front. For some reason it didn't like me trying to knock that object out. I don't know why. Orbit, click, push and pull. And for some reason, oh, there we go, got it. It kind of locks in when it's going to knock it out. All right, so you can see that that worked. We added a window. All right, so we've got kind of a complicated object started. You notice we have circles, okay? We have polygons, got all sorts of different shapes. These are called arcs, which we won't cover too much today. This here is our move tool. So if we select the object, triple click it, select the object, we can move it around wherever we want. Okay, I'll undo that. That's a handy tool as well. Now let's say we're going to put a roof on this house. Let's switch to front. Now let's go back to our line tool. You'll notice that it locks into these are called the vertices. It calls it the endpoints in this program, but they're vertices, they're points. We can click the endpoint You can go approximately in the middle. I could be more accurate, but I'm going to go about there. And now I'm going to go down to this endpoint, click there, and you'll see that it automatically makes a face when it connects. Pretty cool. Let's orbit. I've got the start of my roof. I'm going to select that face, and I'm going to push and pull it back so that it creates the roof of this house. Pretty awesome. And you can see how easy it is. It's just, you know, just building shapes is what we're doing. We're just having fun. We're building shapes, and we can do all sorts of neat things with this pretty quick. Next, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how you can erase lines. So if you have a connection here, you can see these are called weld lines between the faces. Let's say we want to get rid of that line. Well, it's as simple as clicking the eraser and drawing that line and getting rid of it. So now this has become a new face. You can do the same to the back. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I was exact on lining it up. But okay, there we go. We got it. And you can see that now we've created a new face off of two objects. Pretty sweet. Okay, so now you've got kind of the basics of how to build objects. Let's say we want to make these objects start to look good. You'll notice there's a paint bucket here. And the paint bucket allows us to fill in with colors or textures. So let's say we want to color this wall green. We can click it with the color we pick. You can also use grayscale sliders, or there's color sliders here as well. We can use a spectrum, which is basically just another way of picking colors. We can also use opacity here. So if we want it to be see-through, okay, we can adjust the opacity of that. And now we can see into the object. That's great for windows and stuff if you want. We've got pencil, these are like pencil crayons, already pre-made colors. And the last one is pretty awesome, it's textures. And in textures we can pick different types of materials, like let's say stone, for example. Now it's got kind of a marble sort of finish. That one's got a kind of a rock look to it. You can see that there's a bunch of pre-made textures that we can apply pretty easily here to our object. Okay, shortcut for the paint bucket, by the way, is, I believe it's P. I just want to check. No, maybe there is no shortcut for it, but we can set a shortcut. We're going to create some tiles for the roof. It's not going to be perfect. Maybe I'll go with something like that. Oops! And now you can see, guys, using Orbit, we are creating something that now looks like an actual house. We've got textures on it. We've got all sorts of cool things. We got the window. We got the door. It's looking pretty good. Now, there is one other cool thing that we can do here. And there is a lot that I haven't talked about. I'm going to just kind of zoom into the house here a little bit. And I'm just going to go to the front door. There's this thing called walk mode. And it's kind of cool because with walk mode, when you click and pull, you basically walk into your model. All right, you can look around by going left and right. You can walk out of your model. It's kind of neat. There's also this look around, which is basically like if I was standing here and I'm looking around my model, does it look right? So that's kind of cool. Just going to zoom back out. All right, so you can see that we can do a lot very simply. Okay, it didn't take very long for us to do that. And we've created a pretty, I don't want to say complex, but, you know, pretty nice model for 5 minutes worth of work here. All right, so save what you're doing. Hopefully you understand the basics of how SketchUp works. And we'll go into more advanced features in a future tutorial. All right, till next time, thanks for watching.